That Christmas dinner, my son looked me straight in the eye and said, "You'll get nothing once that burden dies." He was talking about his own father, my husband Arturo, who was upstairs in bed, paralyzed and barely hanging on. 4 days later, Arturo was gone. On the day we buried him, they threw me out of the house. But a week later, when the lawyer read the will, everything changed. I'll never forget the moment Daniel said those words. I was carving the turkey when he dropped it, calm as anything, like he wasn't tearing the room apart. My hand froze. On the knife, Kim laughed softly and sipped her wine, saying it was about time things wrapped up. To them, Arturo wasn't a person anymore, just a problem standing between them and their inheritance. I wanted to scream, but instead, I set the turkey on the platter and forced myself to say, "Dinner's ready." The little ones came rooney-moly, quiet and careful, and Lucas, stuffing bread into his mouth like he always did. Daniel wiped his hands on a napkin I'd ironed that morning, while Kim scrolled on her phone, not even pretending to care. I tried to eat, but every bite turned to ash. "Did you check on him?" I asked Daniel. He didn't even look at me. "He was fine this morning. If anything changes, you'll hear it." My jaw tightened. "He's not an alarm clock," I snapped. Kim rolled her eyes. "Mom, it's Christmas dinner. Nobody wants to think about that right now." But I couldn't sit there listening to them dismiss the man who had paid their tuition, helped them buy their first home, and bailed them out of debt more than once. I dropped my napkin and stood. "I'm bringing him a plate." Daniel shot back, "Why? He can't eat. You're just wasting food." Emily looked at me, worried, and asked if she could help. I forced a smile. "No, sweetheart, you stay, I'll be back." Each step up the stairs felt heavier than the last. When I reached the bedroom, Arturo was exactly where I'd left him, his half open, chest rising and falling in weak, uneven breaths. I sat on the edge of the bed and whispered, "Hey, I made turkey your favorite." His lips moved, but no sound came. I leaned closer. "Did you hear them?" His slow blinks were enough of an answer. "They don't see you anymore," I said quietly, tears burning my eyes. "Just your name on papers, bank accounts, money." He coughed, struggling for air, and I held a straw to his lips so he could take a sip of water. "I'll stay here tonight," I promised. "You won't be alone. Not with them downstairs." His shaky hand reached toward the nightstand. I opened the drawer and pulled out the little notepad and pen he kept there. It took him forever to grip the pen, but when he finally scratched across the paper, one messy word stood out. "Will you want to change it?" I whispered. He blinked twice. Yes. My heart pounded. His handwriting was barely legible, but the meaning was clear. "Okay," I said softly. "We'll figure it out. I'll help you." A sudden knock made me jump. Daniel barged halfway into the room. "Mom, seriously, you're spending Christmas up here?" He didn't wait for an answer. "Kim's cleaning up. We're heading out soon. Just letting you know." "You're not staying?" I asked, my voice shaking. "No point," he shrugged. "You've got it covered." Daniel glanced at Arturo and wrinkled his nose, like his father was nothing more than a bad smell. "Happy holidays, Dad," he said, his voice dry and mocking, before turning away. My hand clenched the notepad so hard it hurt. "Daniel," I called. He stopped but didn't turn around. "Your father is still alive. Show some respect." Without looking back, he muttered, "For what? He's not even here anymore. He's just a shell." Then he walked off down the hallway, leaving me frozen in the silence. I sat by Arturo's side for what felt like hours, listening to the ragged rattle of his breath. I pulled the blanket up under his chin, but even with the heater humming, I couldn't shake the chill inside me. When I finally went back downstairs, the table was cleared, the plates stacked in the sink like nothing had happened. Kim was slipping into her coat. "We'll come by next weekend," she said casually, like Arturo's life was just penciled into her schedule. She didn't even finish the sentence, just shrugged. "Bye, Mom." Emily ran to hug me, her little arms tight around my waist. "I saved you a cookie," she whispered. I kissed her forehead. "Thank you, sweetheart." Lucas gave a quick wave from the door, a roll still clutched in his hand. "Bye, Grandma." I stood at the window, watching their headlights sweep across the driveway like flashlights, searching for something in the dark. Then they were gone. The silence pressed in, broken only by Arturo's faint cough drifting down through the ceiling. I leaned against the door and let out a long breath. I thought that Christmas would be our last together, but I was wrong. It wasn't an ending, it was the beginning of something else. Later, While I adjusted the pillows under Arturo's head, Daniel barged into the room without knocking. He stood in the doorway with his arms crossed, his face blank. I kept my hand on Arturo's shoulder, hoping he'd stay asleep, but his eyes flickered open. Daniel stepped closer. "He's still going, huh?" he muttered. I stayed quiet, but then Daniel leaned down, so close I could feel his words against our ear. "It wouldn't be the worst thing if you let go. Everyone's tired. You're tired. We all know it." My heart stopped. He hadn't noticed me sitting on the other side of the bed, my hand gripping Arturo's wrist under the blanket. I looked up at my son, and, for the first time, saw nothing of the boy I raised, only a stranger. "Daniel," his head jerked, startled. "Jesus, Mom, I didn't see you there." I stood slowly. "What did you just say to him?" I was comforting him. He lied, flashing that practiced fake smile he'd worn since he was a teenager. "You told your father to die." "Don't twist it, Mom. I meant if he's suffering, maybe it's time to accept it." He dragged his hand through his hair, looking anywhere but at me. "You don't get to decide when someone's finished," I said firmly. "Especially not your own father." "Look at him, Mom," Daniel shot back. "He hasn't spoken in 2 weeks. He can't eat. You're the one who can't let go." "So, you're done with him?" I asked, my voice trembling with anger. "Because he's inconvenient." Daniel said nothing. He just stared at the foot of the bed like it might give him an answer. Arturo let out a faint noise, and I leaned close to whisper, "I'm here. It's okay." His eyes found mine for just a second, but that second meant everything. Daniel backed toward the door. "I'll be downstairs. Let me know if anything changes." He left, and the room grew heavy again. I wiped Arturo's forehead and listened to his shallow, uneven breaths. I wanted to scream, to demand why he wasn't fighting harder, why our son had turned so cold. Instead, I just sat there, holding his hand, until I felt the faintest twitch of his fingers. I looked down. "Do you need something?" He blinked once, then shifted his gaze to the nightstand. I followed it and saw the little brown leather notebook he'd used before the stroke. His ledger, his memory book. I pulled it out, placed it on his lap, and guided his shaking hand around a pen. Slowly, painfully, he scrawled across the paper. One word, jagged but clear enough. "Will." My breath caught. "You want to change it?" Another blink. "Because of what you heard?" This time, his eyes closed, then opened twice, slow and sure. And in that moment, I realized my husband wasn't finished yet. A file popped up on the screen. Audio. My hand shook as I clicked play, and then I heard his voice, Arturo's raspy, weak, but still him. "If you're hearing this, it means I'm gone. Maria, I'm sorry. I should have done this sooner. I heard them Christmas night. I heard everything, Daniel and Kim. What they said about you, about me. That's when I knew I had to change everything. I gave instructions to my lawyer. Everything goes to you. They don't deserve a cent. I hope it holds up. I hope he updates the papers before it's too late." I slapped my hand over my mouth. He did it. He actually changed the will. He knew what they were, and he made sure they got nothing. I looked around the room, my half-packed suitcase. My things scattered like I was already gone, and something inside me snapped. They thought they'd won. They thought they could throw me out like trash. But they had no idea what I was holding in my hands. At the lawyer's office, I expected paperwork, maybe a few cold stares. I wasn't ready for Daniel and Kim sitting there already, legs crossed, smug as if they were about to collect a prize. I sat across from them, clutching my purse like it was the only thing holding me together. Mr. Jenkins, the lawyer, cleared his throat. "Thank you for coming. This won't take long." Arturo updated his will shortly before his passing. Daniel grinned. "He did. That's good to hear." Kim nodded, already looking like she was spending money in her head. Mr. Jenkins glanced at me before continuing. "He made the changes on Christmas Day. They were notarized that evening. I have all the documentation here." Daniel's smile faltered. "Christmas Day." He could barely move. Mr. Jenkins didn't pause. "Let me begin. To my son Daniel, and his wife Kim, I leave the house on Elmhurst Avenue." Daniel smirked. "Knew it. Along with full responsibility for all mortgage payments, taxes, and upkeep costs, effective immediately." The smirk dropped. "What?" "And to my wife, Maria," Mr. Jenkins went on, "I leave the entirety of my personal savings, investments, retirement accounts, and all valuable assets, including cars, jewelry, and bonds with no conditions." The room went silent. Kim leaned forward, her voice sharp. That can't be right. Daniel sat up, his face red. What do you mean everything else goes to her? Exactly what it says, Mr. Jenkins replied. Arturo was clear. He wanted Maria protected. This is a joke, Daniel snapped. He was barely conscious. He was lucid enough to dictate, sign, and record his wishes, Mr. Jenkins said, pulling another folder from his desk. And he left a video statement as well. The small screen flickered, and Arturo's face appeared, tired but strong. His voice filled the room. If you're watching this, I'm gone. And I need you to know I heard every word. Christmas dinner. You called me a burden. You called my wife nothing. That's not family. Turn it off, Daniel barked. Standing up, Kim yanked his arm. Sit down. Arturo's voice pressed on. Maria stayed by my side when I couldn't feed myself. She changed me, cleaned me, sat awake all night holding my hand. And you couldn't even look at me. The video ended. Silence. Daniel's glare cut into me. You manipulated him. I lifted my chin. He heard you, Daniel. All I did was let you show him who you are. He was dying. Kim snapped. And he was watching, I said quietly. This was his choice. We'll fight this, Daniel muttered, jaw clenched. Go ahead, Mr. Jenkins said calmly. It's airtight. He made sure of it. My legs trembled as I stood, but my heart was steady. You threw me out of my house. Now you're stuck with it. Every leak, every broken pipe, every bill you wanted it so badly. Now it's yours. I walked past them without another word, head high. Outside, Emily and Lucas swung their feet on a bench, waiting. Emily looked up, eyes wide. Grandma, did you win? I knelt and smiled softly. No, sweetheart, your grandpa did. As I buckled them into the car, Daniel stormed out behind me. You think this is over? I didn't turn around. You've already lost the only person who ever believed in you. That was the real inheritance. Later, I carried grocery bags through a parking lot, my mind juggling milk, bread, bills, and the electricity payment coming due. That's when I noticed Daniel's truck, parked across the lot. I hadn't seen him since the will reading 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't planned to. I walked faster through the parking lot, keys clutched tight, but then I heard footsteps, speeding up behind me. We need to talk, Daniel snapped, grabbing my elbow. Let go of me. My voice came out louder than I meant. You ruined everything, he hissed. You turned him against me when he couldn't even talk. He made his own choices, I said firmly. All you did was show him who you really are. Daniel leaned in close, his face twisted. You think you won. You didn't. You embarrassed me. My wife's been crying for days. Emily's asking questions. You humiliated us. No, Daniel, I said, pulling free. You did that to yourself. I slid into my car, locked the doors, and watched him standing there, shaking with rage. My hands trembled all the way home. That night I locked every window, checked every door twice, even shoved a chair under the front knob like I used to when Arturo traveled and I was home alone. But at 2 a.m., a noise woke me, soft at first, then louder. A creak, a click. I grabbed my phone, heart pounding. The back door was wide open. I knew I'd locked it. Then came another sound from the kitchen glass clinking against glass, like someone knocked a cup over. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I backed away slowly, whispered into the phone as I dialed 911. The dispatcher kept me calm until officers arrived. They searched the house, nothing missing. But the lock on the back door had been picked cleanly. No break-in marks, just undone. When they left, I curled up on the couch, clutching Arturo's old robe. I couldn't prove it was Daniel, but I knew. I knew the way you know your own heartbeat. 2 days later, a note appeared taped to my front gate. No name, no envelope. Just 5 thick words in black ink. This isn't over. Watch yourself. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I packed a bag, grabbed the flash drive and Arturo's note, and went straight to the police. You're saying your own son is behind this? The officer asked. I'm saying my son and his wife had the most to lose. And now, they've lost it. Do you believe they were involved in your husband's death? Yes. My answer came without hesitation. The officer frowned. Then we'll open an inquiry, but it won't be easy. You need to be sure. I'm more than sure. That week, a patrol car circled my street. I installed cameras, changed every lock. Then one night, Emily called me, whispering under her blankets. Grandma, Daddy yelled at Mommy. He said, "This is your fault. Grandpa should have just died sooner." My throat tightened. You didn't do anything wrong, baby. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I miss you, she whispered. I miss you too, so much. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the window. They weren't just angry anymore. They were dangerous. Arturo had known. I hadn't wanted to believe it, but now there was no doubt. They tried to kill me. They killed him, and they weren't going to stop. So I wasn't going to stay quiet. I walked into the detective's office, heart racing but hands steady. I want to reopen my husband's death, I said. I don't think it was natural. I know it wasn't. The detective looked up sharply. You're saying someone killed him? No. I'm saying I know they did. I placed the flash drive on his desk, then slid Arturo's last note across. The detective listened, his eyes darkening as Arturo's weak voice played from the tiny speakers. That's not suspicion, he said finally. That's motive. That's intent. I nodded. They tried to silence me. I think they smothered him. Then they came after me. They broke into my house. They left threats. Do you have anything tying them directly to it? My daughter-in-law's fingerprints were on my back gate. She swore she'd never been near it. I had it dusted. And I have a witness. My granddaughter. She heard them talk about Grandpa's death. She's scared. His jaw tightened. We'll open a formal investigation. But if you go forward, you need to be ready. Families fight dirty when money's on the line. They already tried to kill me, I said. How much dirtier can it get? He didn't answer. I left the office, shaken but stronger than I'd felt in weeks. I drove straight to the cemetery. I hadn't been back since the funeral. Standing over Arturo's grave, I whispered, I'm doing it, love. I'm taking them down. I know what you heard. I know what they did. And I'll make sure they never hurt anyone else. When I turned, Emily was standing at the path, eyes wide. Mom said you were crazy, she whispered. She told Daddy you'd ruin everything. I crouched to her level. Did she say that in front of you? No, but I heard her. And Daddy said, if you keep talking, they'll have to make. It looked like an accident again. Her voice was so soft it nearly broke me. I hugged her tight, tears burning my eyes. Thank you for telling me. Are they going to hurt you again? She asked. Not this time. I promised. I'm not hiding anymore. The next day, I filed the official complaint, hired a private investigator, and told my lawyer everything. The house Daniel and Kim fought so hard to keep wasn't even worth much. It had unpaid taxes and so many repairs, it was sinking them. I could have let it destroy them on its own, but I went further. I filed a motion saying they lied about the inheritance, and the court agreed to put the house up for sale. When Daniel found out, he showed up at my door, pounding so hard it rattled. The frame. You're destroying us, he shouted. I looked him in the eye and said, you did that yourself. You killed your father, tried to kill me, and now you're losing the house you cared more about than family. His face twisted. You can't prove anything. I stepped aside, letting him see the security camera blinking above the door. Actually, I already have. Then I shut the door in his face. For the first time in months, I wasn't scared. I felt strong. Arturo had given me that gift, the truth, and I was finally using it. In court, I sat on the bench, hands damp but steady, as Daniel leaned into Kim, whispering like they were sure they'd already won. When the judge entered, the room went quiet. The prosecutor started, laying out everything, how Arturo had been depression in his last days, how the medical report showed pillow fibers in his nose, proof he'd been suffocated. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Daniel jumped up, shouting objection, but the judge snapped at him to sit down. Then came Arturo's video. His voice was weak but clear. If anything happens to me, don't trust them. Daniel only cares about money. Kim's worse. They want me gone. Kim's face turned red. Daniel looked like he might explode. That's fake, he yelled. He was confused. I stood, my voice steady. He wasn't confused. He was scared. And you gave him every reason to be. Kim spat back, calling me bitter, saying I turned Arturo against them. I shook my head. I didn't have to. You did that yourselves. You called your dying father a burden. You kicked me out the day he died. The courtroom went silent. Then the investigator stepped forward with one last piece of evidence. Texts from Kim's phone. In them, she told her sister, it's almost over. Once he's gone, we'll have everything. Maria won't last a week. Kim's face went pale. She spun toward Daniel. You told me to delete it. You wrote it. He snapped back. The courtroom erupted, and the judge had to bang his gavel for order. It didn't take long for the verdict. Daniel was charged with involuntary manslaughter. Kim, with conspiracy to commit fraud. Outside the courthouse, I stood unsure what to feel until Emily and Lucas ran into my arms. Emily whispered, "I told the truth, Grandma. I told them everything I heard." I hugged her tighter than ever. "You saved me, sweetheart." Lucas looked up, eyes shining. "Are they going to jail forever?" I knelt down, holding both of them close. "Long enough, and you'll always have a home with me." As we walked to the car, something heavy lifted from my chest. The courtroom had been packed, but the truth was finally louder than their lies. For the first time in a long time, my house didn't feel empty, it felt safe. It was finally quiet. For the first time in months, I could sleep through the night without jumping up to check the locks again and again. No more court hearings, no more threats, no more pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. Daniel and Kim were behind bars, facing years they never thought they'd see. I didn't celebrate when the judge gave their sentence. I just let out a long breath I'd been holding since Christmas. I was free. I started small. I painted the kitchen cabinets, changed the dark curtains Arturo always teased me about, and let a little more sunlight into the house. It wasn't about erasing him, it was about making space for light again. Every weekend, Emily came over. She'd sit at the table helping me fold laundry or cracking eggs for pancakes. Lucas liked fixing things, so I let him tighten the loose hinges and fix the sticky drawers. Arturo never got to. One morning, Emily asked, "Grandma, do you miss them?" I paused. "I miss who I thought they were," I told her. She looked down. "I don't miss them. I miss when they weren't so mean." I nodded. "That's what grief is, sweetheart, missing the people we imagined, not the ones who hurt us." A few days later, my lawyer called. "Maria, the house is officially yours now. Everything's closed. And the trust fund Arturo set up for the kids, it's locked until they're 18. No one can touch it. You did everything right." I hung up, staring at the papers. It didn't feel like winning. It felt like surviving. But that was enough. I started volunteering twice a week at the local clinic, helping women rebuild their lives after being betrayed by family. I didn't tell them my whole story, just enough so they knew I understood. One afternoon, a woman sat across from me and whispered, "My daughter threw me out after my husband died. Said I was dead weight." I looked her straight in the eye. "You're not. You're the strongest one in your family. You just forgot for a while." She broke down, and I didn't flinch. I knew that pain. I had lived it. Months passed. I stopped checking the news. I didn't ask about Daniel or Kim. If letters came, I didn't open them. If they called, I didn't answer. That chapter was closed. That Christmas, Emily and Lucas stayed over. We kept it simple: hot chocolate, board games, and a framed photo of Arturo on the mantel. I kissed the glass and whispered, "We're okay now." Later, as we sat on the floor playing Uno, Emily giggled, "Grandma, you always win." I winked at her. "It took me a long time to learn how." Lucas looked up, his eyes soft. "You're not scared anymore." I smiled, my heart steady, for the first time in a long time. "No, sweetheart, I'm not, because I'm finally free." That's today's story. If it touched you, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget, share your own life lesson in the comments below.